These were the methods, then, which Abraham Lincoln brought to bear on his gigantic problems, the methods by which he helped men to help him solve them. They are methods which he worked out almost unaided, and the vast superiority of which he amply proved. Intellectual cleverness shows up poor enough when placed beside his intellectual integrity. Plausible theories and panaceas for settling hard questions seem flimsy stuff indeed when set beside the vast patience and downright hard thinking he gave them. The most brilliant maneuvering for tempting advantages crumbles to pieces when compared with his long-sighted campaigns for permanent results. Never has there been a time in this country's history when we need more application of such methods to our national problems. We are struggling to rid ourselves of a carelessly administered democracy, abuses which we have as plainly fixed on ourselves as on our country. North and South both allowed slavery to become fixed. Failure to recognize the inherent wrong of slavery, an unwillingness to sacrifice property to justice, and a fear of disturbing the peace of the country were at the time at the bottom of slavery's grip, as they are at the bottom of our commercial evils. And we have only ourselves to blame for them. We must strip them off, and we cannot do it by resolving they must go. We cannot do it by resolving that they would not exist under some other system. We are forced to deal with things as they are and work out the problems with men as they are. We hear people ask constantly, what would Lincoln have done in our place? Backing up arguments with quotations from Lincoln has come to be part of the equipment of every agitator and reformer. The prohibitionists, the women suffragists, the labor leaders, preachers and teachers, everybody who has a cause tries to strengthen their cause through him. And that is a tribute to the faith that the people have in Abraham Lincoln. But too many of those who quote him fail to get from him the real help he has to give. It is not his particular opinion, not his wit and wisdom, not his wonderful and moving letters and speeches, which are his great contribution. It is the temper and character with which he approached his problem and the methods by which he handled them. Therein lies the deep and real lesson Abraham Lincoln has for every man or woman who would fit themselves for service. His life is a call to self-training, a training of the mind until it can form sound, workmanlike, trustworthy conclusions, a training of the moral nature to justice and righteousness, a training of the will until it can be counted upon to back up the conclusions of the mind and the heart. His life is a call to openness of mind and a willingness to learn, to be forever learning. Nothing is more significant in Lincoln's career than the way he constantly took a fresh grip on things most men would have thought they had mastered. For instance, after he was 45 years old, he began a fresh study of law. His first experience with Stanton, his Secretary of War, led him to this when he saw that Stanton was a better lawyer than him. He told a friend, "I'm going home to study law. When these Eastern folks come west, I'm going to be ready for them." His method is a constant lesson in liberality towards others, a recognition of the fact that the other man's point of view has truth in it as well as yours, that you no more see all the truth than he does, and that if what each of you see can be fused together, a larger amount of truth will result. Above all, this method is a revelation in what a man can make out of himself if he will, in the quality of service he can prepare himself to give. Indeed, I am inclined to feel that the greatest service Lincoln has done this country was to demonstrate what could be made out of a mind by passionate, persistent effort, and what moral heights the mind would rise to if dealt with in perfect candor. His life indeed gives a new and exalted idea of the human capacity for endurance, for sympathy, for understanding, for reverence, and for the higher forms of happiness. He demonstrates the preciousness of life under whatever circumstances. Indeed, the possibilities in all men's lives have been enlarged by this man's individual conquest. And the best of it is that his methods are democratic. They are practical for all. His achievements are democratic. They are achievements open to all. It is doubtful if this country, if any country, has produced a man so worthy of our study and our following as is Abraham Lincoln. Who indeed is there to fit to guide us that highest of tasks, the giving of service? Whoever saturated himself so with his subject, whoever trusted more utterly in the integrity of his logic and appealed to the sense of human justice, whoever put aside with more contempt all the tricks of his trade, appeals to emotion simply to stir emotion, wit simply to arouse a laugh, subterfuges and evasions to escape valid objection, whoever handled his tasks with more honesty and respect, whoever struggled harder to understand, not only with his head, but with his heart, who wrestled more to make others understand, whoever looked more deeply and more gently into the hearts of men, and then having looked, put into more moving words what he saw. Abraham Lincoln has no parallel. He stands as a towering, lonely figure, a man who by the persistent and reverential following of his own highest instincts raised himself unaided from the soil to place of the first American.